Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Curriculum Subcommittee meeting. It's January 17th, 2023. Our chair, faithful leader, Jennifer could not make today, so I am just pinch hitting for her, so I'll have lots of help, so that's good. Let's start, if we can, with maybe an introduction. Grace, have you met people?
I have spent time with Gabe and Michelle today and Linus. It's my first day. I'm very pleased to meet all of you.
So let's just go around and say hello. Grace, you want to just introduce yourself and then we'll.
Yeah. I'm Grace Way. I am interim part-time, just a few days a week, deputy superintendent for teaching and learning. And I will be covering through the end of June. Hopefully we'll hire a permanent person by the end of March. I think that's the goal for Linus. I was previously a regional school superintendent in Boston for 5 years, and also director of curriculum and instruction in Framingham before that, and a longtime principal. But I'm retired, so I'm just filling in for a few days a week.
Oh, nice. You think you're retired, Grace, but I don't know that it works that way once you get on board. We'll honor that, that's for sure. Okay. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, Grace, and welcome to Brookline. I'm Helen Charlepsky. I've been on the school committee for just 30 years and have been on the curriculum subcommittee for most of that time.
Thank you. Stephen?
Hi, Grace. It's nice to meet you. Welcome. I hope you have a nice stay in your position. It's my first year on the school committee as a fully elected member and my second year in total.
Thank you. Nancy, are you there? Do you want to introduce yourself?
I am. I'm in the car, so I'm very sorry. I can try to do this without having an accident. Hi, I'm Nancy Gore. Grace, welcome. Just so you know, Helen's retired too. This is my first year in school committee. I raised a son in the Brookline Public Schools. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for pinch hitting. And anything that we can do to help you, please just let us know.
Okay, you've met Gabe and Michelle, I know that. And I won't talk about Michelle's other life out there at Faneuil Hall, but that's another story at another time, right, Michelle? So, I met Grace this morning. So welcome, Grace. And now, Anthony and Hal, you want to introduce yourself, Anthony?
Sure. Hi, Grace. Welcome to the Public Schools of Brookline. My name is Anthony Meyer, and it's my pleasure to be the head of school of Brookline High School. This is year 7, and I've been in the district for 18 years. So we're well supported by Gabe and Michelle in OTL, and we're super glad to have you. So thanks for helping support us.
Grace, welcome. I'm Hal Mason. I'm the assistant head of school. This is my 14th year in Brookline, I think. But I've been working longer than a Charlepsky. One full Charlepsky unit plus some additional years in education, New York and here. And welcome to Brookline.
That's going to be a new one, Charlepsky unit. I like that. I like that. We'll measure by that.
Not a stable unit.
Most of our business today is going to be about the high school course requests, but before we do that, I would like to move the minutes from December 20th. Do I have a second to that?
I second it.
Thanks, Stephen. Helen, your vote?
I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay. Stephen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Okay, so I have a list of courses that you're going to present tonight, and then I believe they will be presented to the entire school committee on Thursday. Is that correct? Gabe, are you who is going to start off here?
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of hold the fort.
Can I just sort of give a high-level view of why it is we do this?
Yes, Helen, absolutely.
So, the new school committee members will understand and way. It's the school committee doesn't try to micromanage the schools. However, when there are new courses that are proposed, there are financial implications. And that's certainly our purview in terms of the financial implications of any of these courses, what that means, how we can support it or not be able to support it. We also sort of provide a sounding block for the, not sounding block, what's the sounding, is it called a sounding block?
Sounding board.
Thank you.
Board.
Yeah.
Board. Yeah. Sorry, English is my second language. A sounding board for the staff in terms of the course, asking questions that maybe a community member might ask, or that other people in the system might ask, what this course is, its goals, how it works with the rest of the courses at the high school. So just to keep those things in mind as a framework. Sorry, Gabe, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's really helpful to have the context. So yeah, we have 4 actual courses that are new courses, and coordinators will be coming on momentarily. Kenny Kozel, our performing arts coordinator, is coming from a meeting, so he should be on any moment. And then John Andrews, our English department chair or coordinator, we use those interchangeably. He'll be coming on a little bit closer to 4:30, and then Carlin Uenoyama and then a couple other colleagues will be talking about wellness a little bit later. But before that, I have 2 what we're essentially calling course updates. They're not really new courses, but we wanted to make sure to inform the committee. They sort of fall into an in-between zone. I don't think they really need approval the same way, but I'm going to represent social studies and then athletics a little bit. And these are, again, mostly like high level. So for social studies, we've long had, and also Anthony and Hal, feel free to jump in and tag in when needed, but we've long had a senior year option course in social studies for Asian American studies. The course has suffered from some declining enrollment, in part because students have a hard time fitting it into their schedule, even if they're interested in the class. It's a semester course, not a lot of social studies semester courses, so it's hard to pair something up on the other side. And it's just been a little bit awkward, all said and done. And so we're shifting the course, or the plan is to shift the course from a semester course to meeting full year, but only meeting 2 days a week. And that meeting 2 days a week would allow students to pair up a wellness class that also meets 2 days a week, potentially. And then using a model that we've used with so the social justice course, for example, students will be able to earn a full credit by doing some additional like project-based or asynchronous work. So we're just moving how the course is scheduled. The content of the course is expanding, moving from a half credit class to a full credit class. But for all intents and purposes, it is the same course. And the name is changing from Asian American Studies to Asians in America to kind of expand to include Asian immigrant narratives as well as American-born folks of Asian descent.
I'm confused. Is it a full credit or it's a half credit course?
It will be a full credit course.
But only meet 2 days a week.
Correct. Again, following the model of our social justice course.
Okay. Helen? Helen, you're on mute.
I was a little disappointed in what I read about this course in terms of, I think
we also have an Asian American literature course that John is going to present about. I did not send a summary of the Asians in America social studies course.
You didn't?
I did not, no, because it's a course that already exists in the course catalog. We're just changing how it's scheduled.
Okay, and all right.
No, Helen, I was going to say though, and I think Gabe just did, that there is an Asian American literature course, which you would have read a course description of. A couple of things to just add to what Gabe said. So this is this course, the social studies course, is the brainchild of Sydney Ho, who has spent time over the last year thinking about our Asian American Studies offering. And as Gabe said, it has had declining enrollment. We sort of kept it on life support over the last few years, but wanting this opportunity for students. And this was an ingenious way to continue to have the offering and bolster it by allowing it to fit or nest with other classes. So it's really good work by Sydney with support from Brian Poon, who taught the course for a long time before, and Kevin Wang, who was involved in the English course we're going to hear about.
And how many classes of this do you plan to have?
It would just be one section.
Single section.
And remind us all again, the minimum for running a course is how many students signing up?
I don't know that we have a hard minimum. We've wanted to have that course be at least 15. Ideally, we would have 20 to 25 students in it. However, we run a few singletons at smaller than 18, and Asian American Studies has been one of those singletons, as has African American Studies. Singleton social studies courses competing with other subject areas. We have scant enrollment in some of those.
And part of the feedback that Sydney and Brian have collected is that students are interested in the course, but had trouble fitting it into their schedule in a reasonable way. And so students who are interested may not have taken it. And so our hope is that by changing the structure of when the course meets, more students will be able to access the course.
I guess I'm confused. How? If you can't take it for 2 days?
So when a course runs as a full-time course, it's blocked out, essentially that block for the whole year. So the scheduling difficulty for me then would be I've got to find another course that's a half-year course that they'll take on the other side. They might take this course in the fall. What am I going to fit in that D block class, for example, in the spring? If it's a 2-day-a-week class that nests both with the AP labs and with social justice and or with wellness, depending on how I schedule it and where it falls, it opens up. It's not eating the whole block. It allows it to mesh with those other courses.
Okay, that makes sense. This is sort of a little bit off. Do you mind, Suzanne? I'm taking up a lot of space here. Somebody else wants to. I guess one of the things for me that's important is that we teach some of the information, some of the books, some of the history in our regular courses. I mean, I would hope that that's the case.
Yeah, and kind of like how so students are only required to take 3 years of social studies for graduation. And so in the senior year, we have a number of optional courses that students take. And this fits that. So it doesn't replace US history by any stretch. This would be for students who want to take a deeper dive.
Okay.
And Helen, I would just echo my agreement with what you raise. And I think that's part of the social studies equity audit that we're doing to look at our materials, to look at our course content and see to ensure that all students are learning similar things. So just agreed with the hesitation you have.
Thank you.
Suzanne, you're muted.
Thanks. It was noted yesterday at the MLK event at Coolidge Corner Theater that the local BFAM, is it, that donated a good number of books and titles both to the high school and now to the K-8 schools in terms of authors, Asian authors. So they're putting out a real effort to get, those books into the hands of the students. Do you do a marketing at all? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, each department certainly has their own advertising to encourage students to take more courses. And again, I think this is a good example of a course where it wasn't that students aren't interested in the course, it was a logistical barrier to accessing it.
Right.
And our
But now
hope-
they need to know how it will fit into the schedule better for them.
Yep,
Right.
and Gary and the social studies team are ready to go for when enrollment and registration go.
Do you need a vote from us, Gabe, or is this?
I don't think so. I think this is just an update, right? This is
Okay.
because the course
think,
is
Helen? It's okay, okay,
it's an existing course.
okay.
The second
Okay.
one is a little bit in between. So Kyle Williams, athletic director, would like to add a sport to the Brookline High offerings. And he talked a little bit about this when he was here presenting, I think it was last meeting or maybe 2 meetings ago. But he would like to add unified basketball. So one of the things he talked about was unified sports where students with disabilities and students without disabilities can participate together. It's a collaboration with the Special Olympics. And many other communities do this. He believes that we can add basketball relatively easily because of our facilities, that we have space in gyms. We can offer it, I believe he wants to offer it during the fall. And so really the only associated cost are coaching stipends, and we don't have any concerns about adding that cost. He feels good about finding coaches for it. And so again, it's not a course, but because sports do go in the course catalog, we wanted to make sure to provide that update. And as a continuation from the discussion about athletics, just wanted to make sure to follow that up, because adding the unified sports program was really a high priority for him. And this is a way we can kind of start that off as early as next year.
Yeah.
Helen?
I'll ask a question again. I'm sorry. If somebody else wants to go first, that's okay.
Go ahead.
So this is as an extra, this is not an intramural
No.
sport. It's an extramural. It's adding, and so there's buses to meets, correct? There's that cost, and there's the cost of.
It's an interscholastic.
Right, and then there's also the cost of the coach.
Yep.
And I assume you need a special ed teacher who's going to be or 2 coaches, one that.
I don't have that level of detail off the top of my head. I just know that from a financial perspective, it's not an area of concern. We have funding I mean, it's really.
The funding comes from where?
So the athletic department raises money, right? We charge fees for athletic participation.
Right. But I don't know if we can do that for special ed students.
But we have students with IEPs who already participate in athletics.
Okay. All right.
And I think the idea is to start small and do one season. I would just say we are well behind as a high school in a district and offering unified sports. And so I have appreciated Kyle in taking on many things to move in this direction. And in all likelihood, it would be 2 coaching stipends, and then potentially a manager for unified sports, but not with just a single sport. That's something that would evolve over time.
I mean, I think it's an important thing for us to offer. I'm thinking more with my fiscal hat on in terms of what, the costs are and the costs going forward. It's, I know you say it's not, it can be handled, but we do subsidize the athletic department.
Yeah.
It's not like, the fees cover all the costs, and but it's an important thing to do.
So this is extracurricular or after
Correct.
school, right? And then do they play other unified basketball teams? Is that how this team works?
Yeah, so there's busing costs too. It's not just the cost of the coaches.
Okay.
Yep.
And is it tryout? Do you get
I-
cut?
I can imagine it's a no-cut sport. We have a number of no-cut sports.
No cut sport. Okay. Okay. That has more appeal to me. That's good.
Yeah. No, I think if we have so many students that we have to worry about turning them away, that would be an excellent
Yeah.
to have.
There you go.
And again, as we talked about when Kyle was here, he wants to expand unified sports to more areas. That would take significantly more, right? But the addition of one sport feels within his capabilities.
Any other questions or comments about this? Sounds like a great opportunity.
So I'm gonna get in the car and I'm gonna call in the same way Nancy is. So I just want to excuse myself and just say thank you. It's nice meeting everybody.
Welcome, Grace. Thank you. Okay, Gabe, are we ready to start on the new
Yeah.
courses that we're, okay.
So now we can start officially on the new courses. So Kenny is going to be up first. Kenny Kozel, our performing arts coordinator for K through 12, to talk through his new course. And then, like I said, we'll have John Andrews presenting 2 different courses, and then Carlin Uenoyama and a couple other folks presenting a wellness course a little bit later. And they'll join us closer to when they're going on. So Kenny, go ahead and tell us about your new course.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. Kenny Kozel, I think you all know me. So I, for many years, have wanted to propose a guitar ukulele course in the Performing Arts Department at Brookline High School. And it seems like a course that is something that is very appealing to teenagers. I think you're probably familiar with that. Lots of teenagers like guitars. And it's also the only course that we have in our 6-8 conservatory that doesn't have a direct continuation at the high school level. So we do have a jazz rock ensemble that is a non-audition in class. So it's open to students. You know, it could be open to guitarists or people who play ukulele, but it's not a course that's really dedicated to building this skill. And the way that ideally we would like to run this course in the Performing Arts Department is to have a level 1 and a level 2. So it would basically, be fairly similar in terms of the content of the course, which actually the working title for now is Guitar, Ukulele, and Bass Through Songs and Songwriting. So that's a little different from our 6-8 version, which is Guitar, Ukulele, Ensemble. So it's learning how to play the instruments. We're adding in that this would be done really through the vehicle of learning songs that exist or creating your own, and having it run somewhat as an ensemble class as well, but also where students are learning the skills on these instruments, and having a level 1 that is open for students with little to no experience, and then a level 2 that could be for someone who is in the 6-8 guitar class, which you can take from anywhere from 1 to 3 years, and continuing, or kids who have some equivalent outside experience could be in a level 2 class. And again, I think that this really serves both an area that is appealing and of interest to kids. It's open to kids with, especially if we can manage to run it 2 sections of it, it's open to kids with experience and also open to kids with 0 experience. And again, just is the only area that we do not build on at the high school from our 6-8 conservatory at all the elementary schools. So that is the gist. Gabe, I don't know, I'm sorry, did you share the proposal with everyone? And so, okay, so I don't need to like reread the description, but that is the gist of the class. Should I talk more about it? Do you all have any questions?
I think
Yes.
one quick clarification is these would be semester-long classes.
Thank you. Yes, they would be semester-long classes, and like many of our classes, most of our classes in performing arts, you could take the class multiple times. So, so we have students that take half-year classes, twice within a given school year, or take it 1 year and then take it again. And not only with, you could obviously take the level 1 and then move up to the level 2, but also the level 2 you could take for a long time to come. I think the distinction is being, a real complete beginner or very close to that versus, okay, I know how to play at least some level, some degree of a few chords, and then from there it could go way up in terms of the upper level of students in the level 2.
Kenny, could you also just speak to staffing and FTE?
Yeah, so in an ideal world, we would get additional FTE for this class, a semester-long class, is a 0.1 FTE. So if we were to run 2 semester-long classes, that could be an additional 0.2. And in full transparency, the reason why I have not come and proposed this to the school committee prior, even though I've considered it numerous times, is because there is some concern of what does it pull from, and does it pull from our own department. So whether that's pulling from a class like we have a piano class at the high school, does it end up pulling kids from that, and then we don't want to cut the piano class, or is it just giving kids another area, and for kids who either are very passionate about this, or it's just appealing to them as they come to the high school and look through what electives might I try out. And so there, I think where I landed now, at least to present it to all of you, is that we will never know until we try. So it is a little bit, there are some concerns, like I said, of, where is it pulling from? But until we try, we will never know the answer to that.
Helen?
Anthony, did you want to say something more? No.
Sorry, Hal also told me to fix my mic. So are you having trouble hearing me?
I hear you perfect.
I'm okay.
Great.
Perfectly. Sorry. So sorry. Just turn that off. I think I heard you say we would have to hire a 0.2 FTE in order to do this for next year.
Well, I didn't say that we would have to. I said ideally these would be additional FTEs. And, in electives at the high school, FTEs are often kind of moved around based on the demand of classes. And we have also had cuts over the last couple of years in the performing arts, and we'd like to get some of that back. Now, would I prefer that to be in drama or dance where we've lost some of the FTE? I would, but again, we don't know that we will have that or not. And I have a strong suspicion that this would be a popular class. So it would be great if we could get some of the FTEs that we've lost in recent years back. And this is potentially an avenue to do that. And while we're on that subject, it can be hard to hire for a 0.2 position. We have one person currently who straddles the elementary world and the high school world in music, and there are a couple people at the elementary level in our department that could potentially do that. So right now we have a person in a 0.8 position that it's possible who happens to be an excellent guitarist and guitar teacher and songwriter himself, and it's potential that we could draw on that. Scheduling can sometimes get tricky, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
I think just to kind of generalize a little bit bigger for Kenny, there are multiple people currently in the department who could potentially teach this class, who have the skill set, who have the knowledge. And yeah, the question of staffing is a question.
Yeah. And just to clarify a little further with what Gabe said, we have 3 music teachers at the high school, and one of them has the skills needed to teach this class. And at the elementary level, we have multiple people who have the ability to teach this class because they are teaching a similar version of, or the 6-8 version of the class.
And what would be, I'm going to ask the same question again, the minimum number of kids you would have to have sign up for? You have 2 classes here, not just one.
Yeah. Well, I think that in strong performing arts programs, like the one that we want to see in Brookline and that we have seen in my tenure here, you have some classes that run a little small, and you make up for them with your 70-person concert band and your 70-person, orchestra and your, 3 60-person sections of choruses. So we like to think that we're making up for it. So if you can, say, okay, we'll give you a couple of those classes that maybe run, 15, 16 kids and not 24, because we believe in this and we want to stand by kids having these opportunities. And I will also say in performing arts, just while we're on the subject, we don't do any we don't have any co-taught classes, so we take all students, and often have students that would be in co-taught classes, and much as we can support. And this is a class that could very well draw a lot of students who would be, in a wide range of abilities. So it's not the worst thing in the world to have smaller sections. That was my way of dancing around the question.
You did a good job. You did a good job.
Helen and I know each other well, so I can
Very well, from a long way back. He went to school with my son, for those who don't know.
Gotcha. You know everybody, Helen.
But
So-
I guess just as a bigger question, I think we as a school committee really need to be looking at, the costs of these things. This is going to be a difficult year. We all know it. And I think we have to be very, very careful about numbers of students that are in classes, and the high school, we need to, I would expect that you guys would be really careful about running these classes if there aren't the students there to.
I mean, in performing arts, when we don't have the demand, we don't run the class, or we run fewer sections.
Well, I would hope that's the case in any of the classes.
Yes, I hear you.
I think like where Kenny's going there is part of the hope here is if we can get approval for this course, we can see where the interest is.
Yeah.
There's a possibility that the number of sections, as Kenny alluded to, of other classes may be reduced, so this becomes budget neutral. If there is a lot of interest and student interest would kind of encourage us to grow the performing arts department, that's something that Anthony and Hal and myself will kind of figure out through sectioning, because the high school does have a level of flexibility that the K-8s don't have because of all the choice. And so I think the hope is to be able to get it in the course catalog with approval so that we can see if there's interest and help, build a connection between K-8 and 9-12 that we kind of start kids in 6-8 and then we leave them hanging a little bit.
Hey,
Stephen.
Thanks. Hi, Kenny.
Hi.
Thanks for proposing this course. It looks wonderful.
Thank you.
I had two questions, and one of them Helen just asked. My other question is just, can you just flesh out for us a bit more of the context around what options are available for grades 9 through 12 in terms of their music learning opportunities? What can they take? What are they required to take? And what are their electives at this point?
So in terms of requirements, there's a graduation requirement of 3 full credits in the elective departments. There's 3 elective departments: career and tech ed, visual arts, and performing arts. So there's not a specific requirement within performing arts, although students are supposed to take at least 1 course in each of those areas, unless they declare what's called a pathway. So if a student is very passionate about visual arts, they can say at the beginning, I'm going to do all my 3 credits in visual arts, and they can do that. But so that's just the bigger picture credit question. In terms of what we offer in music, I think, like I said, there's a version of everything in the 6-8 level. So in the 6-8 level, we have chorus, orchestra, and band are 3 large ensembles. We have choruses, orchestras, and bands at the high school, multiple of each of those. Then there's there's music production at the 7th and 8th grade is one of the conservatory options, and there's what we call digital music production and songwriting at the high school. That's the next level of that. It uses a more sophisticated program, a professional level program called Logic, and just gets into the higher level of that. Though still open to beginners. Then there's a couple things that we don't offer at the elementary school that we do offer at the high school, such as the jazz rock ensemble. So we have our bands at the 6-8 level is like a concert band style band, and we have a concert band at the high school. But we also have a jazz rock ensemble, music collective, which is an upper level jazz and improv group. And then we have a piano class, which we also don't offer at the elementary school. So we have a couple additional classes that we don't offer at the 6-8 level, but the guitar ukulele is the only one that we offer at the 6-8 level that we don't continue into high school.
Okay, so if you are a non-path declarer in 7th or 9th grade, what how does this work for you? How do you take this course?
This class?
Yeah.
You sign up for it and you're elected. So students sign up for primary and secondary elective choices, and this could be just one of those classes. So you might sign up for this class, you might sign up for another music, drama, or dance class, or career and tech ed class.
And what other kind of music options are there at this for
For-
seventh graders, say?
For middle schoolers or for high schoolers?
Let's just say for seventh. I'm just trying to understand how this fits into
So
one student's
for
life.
seventh graders, we have 6 options. There's chorus, band, which is like our concert band at the high school, orchestra, which is really a string orchestra, and we continue that at the high school. Then there is a music production class. We continue that at the high school. There is one called music exploration, which is a little more general music class, but it's very similar to the music production class. So either of those could feed into the music production class. And then there's guitar and ukulele, 6th option at the elementary school.
Okay, thanks for filling that out for me a little bit.
It's pretty complex, and but students in 6th through 8th grades have all of those options. Actually, music production is only open to 7th and 8th graders, but
Kenny, you probably intentionally didn't include AP Music Theory because it's not really a music experience class, but that's another offering, Stephen, within the music program.
I am so glad you said that, and it was not intentional at all. It was an oversight, and I think it's really important that you bring that up because that class the numbers have been going up and up to the point where we're like, oh man, we don't want so many kids in it. So, but you know, Brookline High kids in their AP classes, you put AP on it, and you'll have a lot of kids knocking on your door.
29 kids currently, Helen, in a 25-person class. So let it be known that a class was oversubscribed at Brookline High School.
Touche.
I also
Anthony for the win.
just want to be mindful of time because we do have 3 other courses that I predict there will be more questions about those.
So
Helen,
yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Helen.
It's very quick. You did a great job of writing up this course, except on number 4, check the first sentence.
Oh gosh, do I have a typo? That's
That was more than a typo.
Sorry, which one?
And so Roman numeral 4, where it says course materials. I will just read
Yes,
it.
we're not doing
French
3
You know what?
AP plus ukulele.
Exactly. We're actually doing the class in French. And as mentioned, when you put AP on there, I suspect that might have been a typo in the original template that I did not catch, and I will
Yeah.
correct it right now.
That's
Thank you.
okay. But I did read
No,
it, just so you know. I think it'd be a good idea to take it out.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Kenny, I have a quick question. Just, could you tell us how students get the instruments? I mean, do we have
great.
instruments are available
Yeah.
for students? Do they
That
rent
is a
them? Do
great-
they have to?
So guitar ukulele class. So when I started, this is now my 10th year as performing arts curriculum coordinator, believe it or not. And in year 1, we only offered guitar at 2 schools. There wasn't guitar ukulele. It was only offered as guitar and at 2 schools. And I felt like we really needed to have the equity of having this at all schools. And one of the great things about doing that, while we did get a one-time fund to buy instruments, and we periodically need to repair those, whether it's from buying new strings or every 5 years or so, you got to get some new instruments as they get worn out, but they're pretty inexpensive. You can get a good guitar for $125 and a good ukulele for about $50. So we would have instruments at the school for students to use.
Okay.
We lend, many kids buy their own instruments because they're not that expensive and they want them. And we offer loaners to kids to have instruments at home.
I think more kind of broadly, Kenny's done a really good job to make sure any student who signs up for a performing arts class can access it and gets what they
Right.
need.
So they
whether-
would not be denied access to the class because they cannot buy.
Correct.
Not only that,
Correct.
but we will put in a line about that, that there is no instruments needed to take the class.
Okay, thank you. That's important. Thanks. I'm sure I should have known that.
Bringing it up.
Are we ready? We need to vote, right? That we're going to support this course. Are we ready for that vote? Helen, you're gonna,
Yeah, no. I would like to recommend that we vote to support it without the extra FTE. I mean, that's, that somehow it be worked out within the system that you can you can offer this. We're not growing in numbers of students for next year. At least it's not estimated that we are. So,
No, Hal differs with you.
okay, all right.
That's not true for the high school, Helen. High school will be growing. We'll be up probably 70 to somewhere between 70 and 80 students projected as of now. Just to be clear.
And we're gonna get
District
60 of
not-
those kids in the guitar ukulele class.
So, I don't know, I don't know if that's your motion, that it would not include an additional FTE, 0.2.
Two,
Is that
yeah.
what you're saying, Helen? And what will that do to you, Kenny?
Well, I just don't think it's exactly, how the FTEs work in the high school, because it's, again, as Gabe said earlier, there's a little more flexibility than.
Well, that's what I'm hoping, that somehow that flexibility can be used to
Yeah,
provide.
that might be across departments, not just within.
That's okay.
Department
I don't
Art,
care.
Just
We-
as when we lost some FTEs, those went to other areas. They didn't just.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
will
yeah.
not have an explicit FTE to associate with this course. We will attempt to fit it into our overall FTE puzzle, as we do with many courses every year,
Sounds
So we
great.
should just,
provided
we should
that
just approve
there's a
it.
demonstration of interest in requests.
Was my understanding that voting on courses where it's not also an authorization of FTEs, but just a vote of confidence in the creation of the course, and that the allocation of FTEs was a puzzle for somebody else's headache. Is that correct?
Well, that's what they'd like us to do, yeah.
Or Helen, is that just a naive?
No, you're correct, but I think it just needs to be, what I'm trying to do is just reemphasize the issues that we have in terms of budget. And, you guys know it. It's not like I'm telling you anything that's new.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Stephen, you want a second? Or
Yes, I'd like to second.
okay. Helen, your vote?
Yes,
Stephen?
Of course.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you for all you do.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Gabe, one down, a couple more to go.
All right, thanks, Kenny. Good to see you. John. So we have John Andrews from the English department. He's got 2 courses. I think it probably makes the most sense to handle them one at a time, just for the clarity of the voting situation.
Thanks, Gabe. Can everyone hear me okay?
Mhm.
Great. So I want to talk first, I think, about the 9th grade course. I think you have a course description for that. If you needed other documents, I'm sorry, I can get you those too. I misunderstood maybe if you needed more than that. Since I came in as department chair in 2019, I've been looking at the enrollment in our college prep and our honors courses in 9th grade, but throughout the grade levels. And the numbers have been a little troubling in that we have anywhere from 65 to 70% of our students signing up for honors courses and 35 to 30% signing up for college prep, with some specific racial and socioeconomic differences in how those shake out. It was difficult to talk about that through COVID, which was the year I started. 2020 sort of shifted our conversation for the last few years. But this summer, Gabe McCormick and Leslie Ryan Miller and Anthony Meyer started a conversation about rethinking the 9th grade experience. And that seemed like a good opportunity for us to reconsider our 9th grade English program a little bit, to consider what it might be like to develop a more heterogeneous model for our classes where more of the kids are mixed together, at least for 9th grade. Something about coming out of the 8th grade and coming to 9th grade seems to make sense for us to get to know all those kids before we think about leveling. I'm not a person who's interested in de-leveling the entire high school. I'll be very clear about that. But I do think that we need to take ownership of the process at Brookline High School. So our 9th grade teachers need to think about, if we want to have a leveled system for 10th or 11th or 12th grade, how are we preparing all 9th graders to be the most successful they can be within that system? How are we taking responsibility for the recommendation process, which we currently ask our 8th grade teachers to do, but they're not sure what they're recommending to? It just felt like this was a time for us to rethink. So we're proposing a pilot to rethink. We're not ready to say, let's just scrap everything and start over. But what we'd like to try is a pilot for at least a year or two, with the idea of growing it into the whole 9th grade program at either the year after or 2 years after. The pilot is described for you. It's pretty similar to what we do, except that we're asking all the kids to come together to focus more on community building, to do a little more self-directed learning a little bit. I think giving kids some chances to choose more of what they read on their own, but also holding on to some core texts that we believe all ninth graders should experience. And then one of the things we're hoping will be a hook for some students or maybe some families is we're going to loosely align it with the social studies program. So the unleveled ninth grade WISP program, which started right around the time I came in as coordinator, has been organized around themes like community, power, identity. We'd like to link our curriculum to those big themes so that when they're talking about power in their social studies WISP class, we're also thinking about how power shows up in literature. When they're talking about identity and what that means historically in different eras and epochs in social studies, we're thinking about the same concepts in our English class. So we're hoping to get a little back and forth between the students' experience within those two classes. We're trying to keep it FTE neutral. It won't cost any more money. Just want to get that out there. We're hoping, thanks, thumbs up. I'll take that as a yes vote now. We're thinking of hopefully offering 4 classes, maybe 8 classes, depending on enrollment. 4 classes would be 2 teachers. I have 2 ninth grade teachers who are interested in this work and are excited to get to the planning and doing some planning this spring and into the summer. We've been talking about what PD, what professional development our school needs to bring to this as we think about more heterogeneous grouping, more differentiation within the classroom. There's some specific sort of people we'd like to bring in to talk with our teachers. I've been working with Gabe and Leslie Ryan Miller beforehand, and I look forward to working with our new leader, whose name I missed, Gracie Y, maybe. I look forward to working with her, excuse me, to think about how we can work with OTL to support teachers in this shift from a very leveled approach in ninth grade to something that's a little more mixed. I will say that we've been doing this type of heterogeneous grouping in lots of different ways from grades 10 through 12 for the last 10 years. This is something we're well versed in other parts of the school, but it's not something we've brought to ninth grade. So it feels like it's the right time to explore this with ninth grade and to be part of a larger conversation about shifting the transition from 8 separate elementary schools to 1 high school where kids have a similar experience. And then we take responsibility for helping them launch to whatever they want to have access to versus having that decision made before they even arrive in school. Oh, that was me talking too much. Sorry. Questions?
John, I have one. Are there any lessons we've learned from the social studies leveling in ninth grade that
Yes, and
take advantage of one way or the other, good and bad?
yeah, I'll say yes and no. I mean, we have to remember that a lot of their experience has been shaped by how we've had to deal with COVID. So it's hard to have really clear data on what happens to GPA or what happens to students' sense of efficacy or stuff like that. But we do have anecdotal evidence and some student data about sort of classroom environment, that having kids mixed together is actually healthier for all the kids than having some kids having an honors program that's really 70% of the kids and a non-honors program that's 30%. And that creates a really unhealthy dynamic, I think, in the 30%, in the classes with that 30%, but rather expanding our community sense of this is what students look like, this is what students do, we all do this together, can have some positive outcomes.
And I think SWS also does unleveled classes.
No, they don't. They call all their classes honors.
They call them the
They
classes.
don't unlevel.
Okay.
They're very clear that they honor all students.
Right.
I think one other piece that we've learned from the social studies team that's been really helpful is they fully redesigned their course and unleveled at the same time.
Yeah.
And a number of the teachers, they did a panel for a whole bunch of staff on the PD day back in November. And a few of the teachers said, you know, we might have done these things one at a time, redesign the course and unlevel separately. And so part of the pilot is that the redesign of the course is not a huge redesign. It is mostly focused on the unleveling. Part of why it sort of rode the line between being a new course at all, frankly, from my perspective. And so I think that's one of the things that we've learned. And so like taking multiple steps and that we may not get to our permanent model all in one step, right? And so I think John and the English team are taking a thoughtful approach of let's offer a pilot, give teachers a chance to teach it, give students a chance to experience it, and then expand as we can expand. And I think it also recognizes how hard it is for staff to redesign a new course. Like that is not an easy task.
And
If I
so,
can- oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
go ahead, John.
Just want to add on to that. We've been talking a lot about whether this class should be unleveled or be sort of an earned honors model, which we've talked about with some outside experts who came in, or a mixed level class, which we have in other grades. We've decided at this point to start with unleveled because that's what students experience in the social studies. So it makes sense to sort of do the same thing at the same time. But I don't think we're done with the discussion as to whether this will ultimately be some sort of earned honors credit model or something else. But I think for now, this is where we are with this pilot version of it. And there's still some room to learn and explore with that. We do have a teacher who will be part of this team who's been working with 10th graders and trying out an earned honors credit model this year. And then that's exciting to see. And then I think the other partner we have is someone who's been teaching 9th grade for the last 8 years. So I'm really excited about the dynamic that those two will bring of a rich understanding of our current content, and also someone who's very interested in experimentation and thinking about leveling and differentiation in good, new, exciting ways.
So Helen, I have one more if I can, and then I'll call on you. So I'm just wondering, John, if this is a pilot and it's 4 to 8 classes, are there going to the other choices will still be honors? So,
Yeah.
And how will that, you don't know how it's going to pan out, but I mean, how will people think about that? How will students
Great.
think about that?
It's a great question. Why would a kid choose to do this pilot when there's already an existing structure? So I think we have to make sure we write a description that it has some appeal to rising 9th graders, and talk with some 8th grade teachers and guidance counselors about why they might want to encourage a kid to try this path. I think we're going to ask all 8th grade teachers for now to continue with the recommendation process that they've done for years of recommending students for either honors or college prep. And then we'll have an opt-in box to say, and if you want to try this pilot, come join us and do this cool new thing. We'll see how many we get. If we get enough for 4 sections, I've got the teachers for that. If I'm overwhelmed and I have to take more, we can go up to 8 sections probably. That's about 160 to 200 kids.
And Suzanne, I might just add to your question that we're also, we're doing this work in advance of the 8th to 9th grade transition events. And so as part of curriculum night, just as Gary did 3 years ago, and that was make a compelling case for WISP, John will make a case for this as a pilot and to be clear about where we are. And John did a really nice job of discussing both the actions we're taking next year, but that this is a period of thinking and rethinking and likely iterating over time. So John, nice job on that.
Thank you. Helen?
Thank you for this. I'm just trying to understand. So in 9th grade, the options are responding to literature and some other one, I forget. There's 2, right?
So we have 2 responding to literature levels. We have an honors level and we have what we call a college prep level. So it's similar concepts or similar content even, many of the same books or same ideas that we're after, but the speed and the depth and there's usually one extra super hard book. We don't read the Odyssey in the college prep class. We do read the Odyssey in the honors class, right? So there's that, but in all of them, we're looking at what's a short story, what's a novel, what makes poetry poetry. We read plays, like we're doing an introduction to genre and thinking about the different types of genre and learning deep analytical writing skills. But the speed at which we push or the depth at which we push in the honors class is a little faster and a little deeper, but it's still the same fundamentals. And I think my 9th grade team has actually been the best team in the high school at identifying in English what are the core concepts and content that we're trying to get across. So I have that list to take to this new pilot and say, okay.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
what you gave us is not what we usually get when we get a new course description.
My apologies.
And so
But-
maybe for Thursday, when we
Yeah.
vote on it, you could get that to us because I
Absolutely.
think that's helpful.
Yeah.
That, and so there's the 2 courses, college prep and honors. And is there another English offering too at
No.
graders? Just those 2?
Yeah, sorry, I lost my video. I was shaking my head no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
there's no other option for English right now.
So this is like a combination of the two.
It's a third way.
It's a
Right.
third way to get to with the same books, mostly.
Mostly, yeah, we'll be pulling from the same books. I think what'll be different is that we'll have a little more differentiation. So we'll be doing something that everyone's doing similarly, but some kids might be going at it this way and other kids might be going at it that way. And there will probably be a bigger mix of all class together on one book. And sometimes when small groups are reading one thing and other groups are reading other things.
Yeah.
In some ways, it'll be more similar to the 8th grade class in the structure than the whole class instruction around the same core book, same books all the way through the year.
Well, and also the off-campus trips and stuff like that will add to the richness of this course.
That's
is
our
the
goal.
way I see it. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll move it if you want.
Sure, I had my size, I'm mute. Just a second.
Move it, provided we get the full syllabus thing.
Second it.
I'll second it. Okay, Helen, you vote?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. I'm excited about what you're doing, John. I think it's great. Thank you for
You're welcome.
going outside your box.
We're excited about it too. It's going to be a good change.
Okay, you want to go to the next one?
Sure. So next one is also slightly historical. I think there's some history to think about with this, but this goes back to last spring, or at least where I entered the story. A group of students presented a very impassioned presentation to high school teachers and administrators about the lack of representation of Asian American experiences in the curriculum, particularly in history and English. And they were very concerned and very adamant that we need to be doing more, that there was work to do around how we teach and learn about the Asian American Pacific Islander experience. So over the summer, Sydney Ho and Kevin Wang and a bunch of other people talked and thought about a lot of different ways to enrich the work that was happening in our school. I will add that other teachers did too, and that there's some really exciting additions we've made to English classes across the curriculum or across our English program about including Asian American writers and experiences. And Kevin developed a course description for an Asian American literature class. And the idea that he had was that we would have an Asian American literature class that would happen in 11th grade. That we would have an 11th grade class that students could take instead of taking American literature. That this could be their, not instead of, but their version of taking an American literature course. And he proposed that and brought it to the department. And we said, Kevin, this feels a little bit like what we do in 12th grade, where we allow students to choose electives and go in a different direction in 12th grade to sort of zoom in on something they care passionately about. What about making it a 12th grade class? And he said, yeah, and our kids are really crying out for this right now. They're really crying out for this literature in their American literature. There's something about not seeing enough of themselves in the American literature experience that is really hurting right now. And so he encouraged us to strongly think about whether it could live in 11th grade. And we did what we do at Brookline. We came to a compromise and we wondered if maybe this course could live in both 11th and 12th grade for 2 years. Is there a way that this course could be offered to 11th graders or 12th graders for a couple of years as we try it out and see where it's at, see how it could live either as a senior or a junior course by letting both juniors or seniors enroll in it. The juniors could have it count as their American Lit class. Seniors could take it as their senior elective. We would have to make sure that no kid took it twice. We'd want to ensure that no kid signed up for it in 11th and 12th grade. I think we could do that. It would be a way to get the additional curriculum that Kevin is bringing to this course into our 11th and 12th grade bookshelves so that it would be accessible to all of our 11th and 12th grade teachers. I was hard pressed initially, but I decided I'm with Kevin on this one. I think it would be an interesting experiment for us to try. I think it's worth trying for 2 years to see what it would be like to have this sort of 11-12 combo for a couple of years. I think that will lead to a greater conversation about our 11th and 12th grade courses over time, but I am willing to to bet that it's a valuable experiment for us to have for a year or two. And then we can decide if it needs to live in one grade or the other. And I think the students and the community are really asking for this loudly and clearly in ways that we need to be paying attention to. Again, I want to underscore that this is not the only work the English department is doing about integrating Asian American Pacific Islander literature and content into all of our classes. And that is happening in other ways too. But this is a proposal that came through that Kevin brought to us that the department is behind and that I think I can get on board with as a 2-year experiment in its current form, and then having some conversation to decide where it lives over time. Kevin does have the syllabus papers, I think, that you were asking for, Helen. I'm sorry about that. I will get those to you. I'll get them to Gabe by tomorrow morning, and then I'll make sure that they get to all of you before Thursday. So those are filled out and ready to go as well.
So, Jen, I'm a little confused, so you'll help me here.
Yep.
Is this going to be 11th, 12th combo? I mean,
Yeah.
11th and 12th graders both
I
in
think-
this one class.
That's what we want to try.
Yeah. So do you have to have a class, of course, for a grade? Could you just not say we're offering this? I don't.
So in the English department,
Yeah.
my time here in 20 years, we have had classes that are either for 9th or 10th or 11th or 12th.
Okay.
We very rarely have cross-pollination in those classes. Now, when I taught in SWS for 4 years, we throw them all together. 10th,
I was
11th.
gonna say SWS throws them together, and they kind of like that. But so
Some do. I would agree with you that some do. That's right. So
So
I
this
think it's
yeah,
worth,
throwing them together, offer it to 11th and 12th graders in one class.
That's right.
And then the next year you do the same thing.
right. And then by then we'll know how we think it's working or not working. And that will encourage us to think about whether we want to do that with other courses in 11th and 12th grade.
Right.
It's a way other schools around us do it. I think there
Yeah.
are other schools nearby that have some of their upper English classes are more mixed than we currently have in Brookline. So it is a model that, you know, stands the test of time in some other places. It's not something we've tried here, so we have to test the waters and see how it goes.
Okay. Okay. I'm with you. Helen?
So I'm wondering, I know there's a state requirement for US history, correct? Is there a state requirement beyond 4 years of English of what you teach in English?
I have not found it in my looking. I have not found a state requirement that says you have to have this you don't have to have an American lit that teaches these specific books. We have our traditions here where we always expect kids to read Gatsby and Toni Morrison and some certain short stories. And then teachers can design the rest of the class the way that they want to. But
And
I
do
don't
we
know if the state,
include any Asian American authors in those traditions?
we've not had them as core essential books that all kids read in 11th grade. So we have not had one book by an Asian American author that is a book that all 11th graders would read. We do have books by Asian American authors that teachers teach, but
Right.
it's not one. It's not like we say all kids will read Woman Warrior, which has been on our shelves as long as I'm here. Or all kids will read Joy Luck Club. It's been, you know, we don't have that one like we have with Gatsby and Toni Morrison.
And we don't because,
We just haven't yet. I don't know if I can give you a because. We have tried to be both inclusive and careful about requiring that everyone teach the same thing at the same time. And so the two that made the cut so far have been Gatsby and Toni Morrison for where we are right now in 11th grade.
I think another way to say it is there's a balance, right, between the amount that's required for everyone to do the same thing and the level of freedom. And so it's kind of this tension of the more books that are required, the less freedom there is.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a balancing act.
yeah, the thing that I worry about I mean, John, I'm sort of with you about doing it in 12th grade as opposed to 11th grade, because it just seems to fit better there. Is I'm trying to figure out what the students who take this course will miss out on if they don't take the course that's usually offered in 11th grade.
Yeah, I think like I was saying with our 9th grade, we have a pretty clear sense of what all juniors need to experience in terms of grammar, vocabulary, styles of writing, reading skills, like that stuff is going to happen across the board. I'm going to work with Kevin to make sure that Gatsby and Toni Morrison land in this course. because I still want our juniors to have had that shared experience. But otherwise, it wouldn't be very different from our other junior courses, in that there's 2 books that we're saying you need to do. And then you can pick anything else that you want to do. And he's saying, I want to pick everything else by Asian American authors. So I think that's sort of where we're landing. What I have to navigate with him is the 11-12 combo. So if there's some kids who are in that class who
Already read it.
that's right, they already read Gatsby in 11th grade, but they're now 12th graders. We can sort that out. I think we can figure that one out. I'm not too worried about that. I think we've been cautiously conservative for years in our English department, and I love that about us. I think the nature of English teaching is a little bit conservative. It's also okay to try something new. And so I'm listening to many of my younger colleagues in the department right now who are saying, please do this. We've recruited many teachers of, not many, we've recruited 6 or 7 teachers of color in the last 3 or 4 years, and every single one of them said, please do this. Please do this. And the people who are more cautious are my peers, the people I came in with in 2001 who were saying, I don't know, this changed, maybe. So I'm trying to listen and say, okay, let's try it for 2 years. The worst thing that's going to happen is they're going to read excellent books by Asian American authors with Kevin, who's a great teacher, and they're going to write some papers. And at the end of the 2 years, we can say, you know what, that's good. Let's try it this way, or we can keep doing it. I just think it's a risk worth taking.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I think even back in my day, which was really a long time ago, we had some choices around this. So I'm excited about this, John. Good for you to try something a little different. Yeah, I'll move it. I'll move this course. But we didn't ask if there's going to be a budgetary implication for this.
It's budgetary neutral. Ellen, this one's for you. As far as I know, it's budgetary neutral. We have Kevin.
This will just pull from other courses.
Yeah.
If it does span 2 grades like that, it might even save us a little budget, because it'll make it a little bit more, it'll give us another safety valve to move kids into. It could work out quite nicely in terms of the schedule.
We will need $40,000 in ukuleles, but we're hoping that we can do some fundraising for that. That's a joke, not true.
But we've already left that. Let's go on.
It will direct a chunk of our book budget for next year. And we've prepared for that. We thought about that. And I think I'm up to date on most of my books. So we have some room to use our book budget, our usual book budget in this direction. So.
And I've been pretty clear that teaching and learning will help the high school with books if that's necessary, especially to support more inclusive texts.
Sure.
John, do we go with paper-bound books or do we go with ebooks?
Oh, we're still in paper-bound books, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm all for it myself. So I'm with you on that one. That's showing my preference. Okay, I vote to move this forward.
Seconded.
Thank you. Stephen?
Yep.
Helen?
Second it.
Okay.
Or I just vote for it.
I just vote. Did you vote yes for it?
I vote
Thank
yes.
you.
I second
Thank
it.
you, Stephen. Helen?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you, John. We look forward to hearing how it goes.
Thanks, everyone. Nice seeing you this evening. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks, John. All right, so we have one more course here. And this is a wellness course. So we've got Carlin Wenayama, our curriculum coordinator for K-12 wellness. And Carlin is joined by a few other people because this is a course that is connected to the Innovation Fund. So we can kind of get the budget neutral question out of the way. If this course goes forward, it would be funded by the Innovation Fund as part of a larger program and a larger ask. So this is a component. And in order to kind of move the proposal forward, we wanted to make sure we hit this timeline so that the course could go forward with your approval, even though it's, again, in the Innovation Fund, because it would be part of the course catalog and students would be earning credit in the normal way. I'm just going to acknowledge the other Gabe McCormick here is Britt Stevens, our Career and Tech Ed coordinator. She's just driving right now and can't rename herself. And she is, in addition to being our Career and Tech Ed coordinator, she's the one of the liaisons to the Innovation Fund. So she's here in that capacity, as well as just being a supportive colleague. And then I'll introduce Kate Leslie, social studies teacher and GSA advisor for the high school, and Julia Mangan, science teacher and specifically physics and GSA advisor for the high school. Kate and Julia, along with their colleague Stephen Easley, who's in the social studies department and also supports the GSA, is part of the proposals to the Innovation Fund. So they're also here providing some support with Carlin. So we do have a couple slides, or the team has a couple slides that I'll be sharing. So Carlin, when you're ready for a new slide, just let me know and I'll move it along. And I think I can share.
Gabe,
So,
I had a quick question about the funding, because so
Yep.
we just get that out of the way. Is that a 1-year funding, a seed money, or is that 2 years, or what?
so the Innovation Fund depends on the proposal a little bit. So Kate or Julia, do you want to jump in on exactly how you propose? Because I can't quote it off the top of my head.
Carlin, if you have it, you can, but I'm also happy to jump in.
You can go for it, Julia.
Yeah, so the way that we're proposing to fund this course is for year 1, that would be next year, to be fully funded by the Innovation Fund for 2 course releases for teachers. Again, totally not part of the BHS budget. But then as after next year, so in year 2 and 3 and after that, the course would be housed within the wellness department and be taught by a wellness teacher. But again, it would be budget neutral, because it would be essentially kids would be taking this class instead of, or we hope kids would be taking this class instead of a different class. And so it would still be within the normal FTEs. But Carlin, correct me if I'm misspeaking.
Yeah, I think we're working on the Innovation Fund or like proposal, right, Julia? But that it would be something that is co-taught in the initial year, with the first semester being like a co-creation, and then the second semester implementation, and then going forward from there. But before we talk about all that, I just want to say, like, in true wellness form, I brought a whole team to help answer all your questions. But I want to get to the why we're presenting as well. I think it's really important. So Kate and Julia came to me earlier this fall, but I've also been working with them for all year since the summer on a lot of the work around our LGBTQ+ task force and vetting different curriculum and health curriculum. And so when they came to me with their Innovation Fund ideas, I actually thought this is a wonderful opportunity for us to really meet our students where their needs are being heard loud and clear. Through all my work with the DESE Safe Schools program, all my work with the task force, I mean, students come to me every year talking about wanting and needing more inclusivity work around LGBTQ+ community and the queer community, and also just needing a safe space for them to really explore their health skills and their wellness skills, overall wellness skills. So Gabe, you can go to the next slide. So some of the whys behind why would we need an integrated wellness course offered at Brookline High School. We have the data that shows us that our students need this. They want to be taught and learning in an affinity space. They want to have an opportunity to really explore what mental health looks like for them based on their identity and based on what they are going through. And some of the data from the Youth Risk Behavior Survey shows us that there's a disproportionate outcomes for LGBTQ youth. Some of my work in suicide prevention has also spoken to this. Some of the data from the Trevor Project will also really kind of influence why we're doing this. We also know there's a lot of, not only feeling vulnerable, but also biases and how to sort of violence prevention and how to work against and how to really develop your coping skills with how to work in that environment. So I mentioned here through my work with the ITA that the kids are asking for more. I have a great group of high school students every Wednesday for an hour at night, going through the curriculum, and Julia's just shaking her head because I love my team, and they're Brookline High School students, and a lot of them are actually 9th graders and 10th graders, and they want to continue to have this dialogue in a safe space, in a space where they can really learn and get more up-to-date content information that they can apply with skills in their community. So I think that was the next slide. We can go to the next slide. And so some of the details that Julia mentioned, and I have my whole team here to help answer any questions, is that it's going to be, we decided that we're going to try it as an integrated wellness class. That means that they'll have both health education and physical education. It's sort of a 10th through 12th grade class. So just like they can take any other wellness class at Brookline High School as a 10th through 12th grader, they can take this class as a 10th through 12th grader. We will have sort of a process for students to go through, similar to, I believe it's racial awareness and social justice. There's like an application process so that students can really understand what kind of course they're trying to become part of. As we just mentioned, co-taught the first year with push and support from an LGBTQ plus supporter in future years. It would fulfill the already, students already have to have 0.25 wellness credit every school year that they're at Brookline High. And so in 10th through 12th grade, this is an option for them. And I'm talking really fast, so I'm going to do one of my wellness skills and take a breath. Modeling. So as I mentioned, some of the health approaches will be the health approaches that we already do. So we already talk about decision-making, communication, analyzing influences, all the national health standards we use, but now with an LGBTQ plus lens, as well as specific to that community. So how does it look in terms of unique challenges, in terms of healthcare, unique, substance use and abuse that is part of the challenges of some of the community, and just really diving into having it be an affinity space where students can learn in a safe space that will really help them to have the best health outcomes and wellness outcomes for their life. That's my goal, right? Our goal at Brookline High School is to have our students learn skills that they can have for the rest of their life. I think that's probably my whole spiel, but I will put it out for questions. And I'm sure if Julia or Kate or Britt or anyone else that's on the call wants to add, we can add or just answer questions.
Ellen, you have a question or comment?
No questions?
Well, just walk through for me, Carly, so it's students self-identify, and will that exclude some kids who are not yet ready to make, I don't know, that are questioning, or that just don't know whether they're ready to do this? I mean, to be part of this affinity group, but perhaps they would like to be, but they don't know. I know you've thought of this, I just haven't been in that process.
Is it okay if I take this question? Yeah, so absolutely. One of the key things that we're looking at as sort of like, LGBTQ supporting educators is we're trying to look at what are all the possible touch points that we can have throughout a student's sort of 9 through 12 experience. And so you're absolutely right that not all students know that they're LGBTQ at all points in their 9th through 12th grade year, but we're hopefully creating many points at which they can opt into and get support from, sort of adult LGBTQ educators, so that they're not getting all of their sort of information from peers and the internet and things like that. So absolutely, like, kids might not know in 10th grade that they identify as LGBTQ, and frankly, like, they might not yet want to be part of an affinity space, but by 12th grade, they might have a different sort of like need, and we want to be there for that. So that's one of the reasons why we're creating this class for 10th through 12th graders. But the other thing is, like, we know that this course isn't going to hit all LGBTQ students, and not every kid will want to be into it, but GSA doesn't yet serve as a space for all LGBTQ students. There's a million kids that maybe don't quite feel like they fit in that space. And so this is one other possible space that they might opt into. And we as queer educators are trying to create other opportunities, which is all part of our innovation fund that I'm not going to spend time on today. But this is just one possible experience that they might be able to have that they haven't yet had the opportunity to opt into.
And I think, just in case Carlin didn't hit it clearly enough, like, we've had specific requests from students for health curriculum that feels relevant and specific. And so this is a specific, kind of like how John was citing AAPI students coming to the history and English departments. This is another version of that where we're trying to respond pretty clearly to student requests and student needs.
Gabe, I might just add to that to say that the integrated and advanced wellness courses started, I believe, under Tina Bozeman. So this stretches back to wanting to offer more dual health and fitness courses that we just didn't after 9th grade for many, many years. And the other thing I would just highlight is, Julia and Kate are incredible educators, and they've put together a really amazing proposal for the Innovation Fund. It is rare for teachers from another department to come to a department like wellness, to Carlin, and say, this is how we think your wellness experience needs to be, augmented. And Carlin did a really wonderful job of listening to them and working with them. And so just credit to her for a moment in the context of this conversation, because that's really good leadership by her in supporting Julia and Kate to chase really important ideas for kids.
Helen?
Yeah, so just so I understand, it's not the 21st Century Fund. What is the new name? I'm sorry.
VHS Innovation Fund.
Sorry. The Innovation Fund is supporting what in this course? Because this is a course you could run. You're running the course already. It's just a different way of running.
Yep, I think the key is that the Innovation Fund proposal will support a second educator in the first year while we figure out the course. And so we wanted to make sure that there's a certified health and wellness teacher, as well as an identified LGBTQ educator, so that they can have a collaboration. And then the intent in the future is that there will be some additional push and support, but that it would live completely in the wellness department after the first year.
And
so they're finding the second educator and some prep time.
The curriculum would come, well, with National for Health, and so is it a different curriculum than what we teach in integrated wellness, or it would just have a different bent to it? So
I think it would have a more sort of a LGBTQ plus lens, and there would be more specific, when you're talking about let's say our health skills that we take a skills-based approach, and we talk about decision-making, communication, analyzing influences, accessing valid and reliable information. Like the students would have an opportunity to do that with very specific lens within the queer community. Is that fair, Julia and Kate and Britt?
If I could jump in, can you hear me okay, Carlin?
Yeah.
I think, Helen, another way to answer that question to complement what Carlin said is this is a way of cohorting students into a course that then the content and curriculum could be both representative of an integrated wellness course, as Carlin already offers, but with an intentional, again, Gabe named this as not unlike what John is doing, with an intentional acknowledgement of the fact that representation matters to students, and that the way that we teach certain cohorts of students may be different if they are within their own community. So I think of Carlin leading work that we're doing around stress resilience and mindfulness, right? And how important that is for adults and for young people to learn, and how in a community where depression rates are higher than other communities, that might need to be modified, though it would exist in an integrated wellness class differently, right? What students may be willing to offer, what resources may be shared, might be different in a cohorted affinity space. I think of the Trevor Project, which Carlin, you named earlier, that may be offered to a diverse group of students, but certain resources may be more intentionally deployed in a cohorted space. So in a way, it's not unlike cohorting students of other identity groups. It's just tailoring curriculum to the needs, and the fund pushing in an LGBTQ plus educator to start that work, to seed it so that it can live on in the wellness department after that time.
Stephen?
Thanks. Thank you also for proposing this. This sounds really valuable and important. Again, I have really ignorant questions about the context, and I'm sorry, that's just where I'm at. I hope you forgive me. So this is an affinity group that is also a course, and the course is being proposed within the context of the wellness curricula at BHS, right? So what's the can you help me understand how this fits into the larger wellness curricula? How many credits does this course receive? And what's another example of course content that could occupy this space in the wellness curriculum?
So I think it might be easy if I just explain that when you come to Brookline High School as a ninth grader, all ninth graders have to take what's called a lifetime wellness class. It's a 0.5 credit class. It meets 4 days a week. It's like a semester course, very similar to the other sort of electives, but that's the only required course that all Brookline High School students have to take. Then in 10th through 12th grade, students have some choice. And sometimes they take, as Anthony mentioned, the advanced wellness class, which is sort of an extension on the ninth grade because it's for only 11th and 12th graders. And it dives a little bit deeper into our health and wellness content that we've already done in ninth grade, but for 11th and 12th graders. So some of the framing is a little bit different. It's also got a more geared towards, life beyond Brookline High School, et cetera. So that's kind of sort of courses that we offer that have both health and physical education integrated, right? And then the other courses that you could take as a 10th through 11th grader or 12th grader are all the sort of wellness courses that you might already think about: yoga, strength training, lifetime activities. What was that?
Rock climbing,
swimming,
tennis.
advanced swimming and lifeguarding. You can get your lifeguard certification from Brookline High School. And so we have a lot of courses that offer opportunities for students to get their wellness credit. And then of course, my teachers also will integrate, sort of health topics into those courses, especially mindfulness, as I think Britt mentioned, stress management techniques and stuff like that. But this would be specific for 10th through 12th graders, integrating both the health and the physical education again, but it's only going to run 2 days a week. So it would meet what they have to get anyways for their credit for 10th through 12th grade. But it would meet.
Right, and it's the entirety of their wellness credits for 10th through 12th grade? Okay. Okay.
No. Every year they have to take it, Steve, every year.
That's what I mean. It's their this would fulfill their annual credit in wellness.
Exactly.
And it would be, they could do this, or they could do something like rock climbing, or they could do something.
Yep.
Okay. And
or one other piece, or you can do a sport and also contract.
right, but this is one in an array of elective
In a
alternatives.
sport,
So,
extramural sport.
Right.
Not all affinity groups are accredited courses, though. There are also unaccredited affinity groups offered as extracurricular activities. Is that right?
So let me jump in on this one a little bit, because I think this is where
I think I was thrown by this being
Yep.
listed as an affinity group.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a subtlety. So I think this is a better comparison to something like our calculus project in the math department. And so, right, not every student of color at Brookline High participates in calculus project. Some do. And we intentionally cohort those students into specific sections. So the geometry honors B block class might be the calculus project section. And we're specifically pairing a teacher who knows they're going to get an additional cohort of students in calculus project, partially for all the same reasons this crew defined, is like make it a safer space, increase the percentage of students of color in the class so that it feels more like a place where there's some belonging, right? Not every student will be in the calculus project in that section, but it's a higher than average percentage. And Josh Paris, as the department head, works really closely with his team to pair up the right teacher and the right block and the right students and all of that. This is more like that, where it's a class. It is a true class. It's a full credit bearing class. We are intentionally cohorting students based on their self-selection so that we can create that safe space and open up their feelings of belonging and freedom and safety.
I get it. Okay, thank you. This seems great. Again, I don't know, I'm not being very eloquent right now. This seems like this seems like a really valuable offering. I'm glad it's being proposed.
Other comments or questions? Nancy, are you there? Have we lost you?
So one other thing, so this will be written up the same as the regular course, but the name will change, or how is it going to be presented in the course catalog?
Actually, Carlin, go ahead.
No, I mean, you can answer it, but I think we talked a lot about that, Helen, right? Because that's a really important question about sort of how should it look in the catalog versus maybe how it should look on a transcript, and protecting sort of student privacy and what that might look like. So I think our plan is to call it integrated wellness affinity group, and that's how it will look in the course catalog. But then they'll go through a application process similar to, I think I mentioned the other two courses, I think that go through, Kate, you explained this better than I did the other day, but the courses that have almost an application process, and then students get in and then we hand schedule them in, correct?
Yep.
Racial awareness.
So,
Yeah,
but
so the application wouldn't be an application that, you have to fill out multiple paragraphs about why you want to be in the class. It's more giving students a chance to self-select in, and then we would be able to hand off that roster of kids directly, say to Amy Steele, and she would schedule them directly. So it would just ensure that we had the right kids in the class.
I get that, but how will kids know to pick this? I mean, will this paragraph that we're looking at here be in the course catalog? Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Paragraph that says the course will meet 2 days a week, incorporate skills-based health. Yes, yes.
And is that the way the integrated wellness, I mean, does integrated wellness sort of have a?
Well, lifetime wellness is similar and advanced wellness is similar, but this has been changed obviously because it's specific to LGBTQ.
Yeah.
I think the other piece that differentiates this from advanced wellness, right? This sort of fits integrated wellness, because it's still a quarter credit that meets 2 days a week, sort of fits an in-between space between the required 9th grade class and the advanced wellness that is a full semester meeting every day.
Wait a minute, so for what grade is it?
10 through 12, any student in 10 through 12.
Okay. So I think some of the stuff needs to be worked on in this, so that people know what it is they're.
And, part of what kind of happens at the high school, right? And Kate and Julia talked about this pretty clearly when we all met last week, is students are rarely looking at the course catalog to make their selections, right? They're talking to their friends, they're talking to their peers, they're talking to their counselors, they're talking to their existing teachers. And so that word of mouth avenue, and especially with Kate and Julia, and then also Stephen, who couldn't join us, as kind of leads of the GSA, have a lot of access to students and to make sure that they're aware of this opportunity. Yeah.
But I think
And
parents do.
I see Hal shaking his head, and I just want to jump in proactively to say, I think that is one of the jobs of sort of the, Kate and me and like other LGBTQ educators, is to like explicitly publicize, hey, like this is an option, that when students are coming to us and saying like, man, like we talked about blah, blah, blah in my 9th grade health class, and like, I really wish we'd also been able to talk about blah, blah, blah. We can say, actually, we've created a class specifically for that conversation for us in the LGBTQ community. And so like, we want you to take this class. And so I think it is a little bit our job to publicize this class beyond what goes in the course catalog, to say, this is an opportunity that you can take on, and like, let us know if that's what you want to do with your, health and wellness requirement for next year. And we'll make sure that you're in this class.
And how many sections are you guys going to be running? Do you know? What?
I think only one, unless we have, one next year, and then we'll see what happens with the course, with course requests, right?
Okay.
Well, I'm kind of viewing it as a pilot in some ways. Would that be fair to say for the first year? So I mean, you'll kind of take a look and see what the kids said about what the students say about the program, and if, you know, if it needs to be tweaked or whatever, as you move on. Yeah. Okay.
I'll also say is just as a K-12 person, you know, a lot of times I've been working closely with students who are always advocating for, you know, more inclusive education. So this would be another opportunity for them to have not only the education, but the advocacy moments that they've been like desperately wanting and, you know, having an opportunity to work on those skills as well.
I'm still thinking about the allies, you know, and so that's the thing with affinity groups, right? They aren't totally inclusive. I mean, by definition, they meet a particular need for a particular group. And so I'm just thinking about that some more. Not sure about all that. Okay, somebody want to move that we approve the course, Stephen? Okay.
I'd like to move it.
Okay, thanks. Helen, you want a second or you want me to?
I'll be happy to second.
Okay. Stephen, your vote?
Yes.
Helen, your vote? Helen?
Yes.
Sorry, and I vote yes as well. Well, thank you very much. Thank you all for the whole team to come. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome to stay as long as you want. However, we're really winding down here, so you can go have your evening as well. Okay, Dean, we're ahead of schedule, but I think that's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, folks. Well done.
You all.
Yeah, the one thing I'd like to ask the administrators, if for next year when we do this, if we could have the information ahead of time. It's kind of hard to cram it in, you know, an hour before. And if we want to ask questions so that you can have the responses ahead of time, I think it would be helpful to get this at the beginning of January. I know you're at a crush with getting it into the course catalog and all that, but it would be helpful for us.
Yeah,
And in the same format as, you know, the rest of the courses are in the course catalog, both of those pieces.
noted. Thank you.
Is there any new business? Otherwise, we will.
I just have a question for Michelle. Michelle, are you is OTL going to do any more broad of a discussion of the transition as an interim under the interim leadership about how it will be functioning for the rest of the school year, or should we just
say a little more if it just
I mean, I just know that
advance.
there was an awful lot, there remains an awful lot on OTL's plate, and
Yep.
I'm just curious to know if there's been any major change or if
Yeah,
the
good
priorities will be
question.
shifting, or if any processes will be shifting.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good question. And we met with Grace Way today, who was here. And I think what we're finding is Gabe and I are going to continue most of the work. We know that we understand that there are several questions about reviews that are going to take place, et cetera. But our goal, and
This was like my first question that's not about literacy. Like I'm just
that's okay. No, we don't. That's all right, because we're thinking about other places.
Okay.
No, absolutely appreciate the question. And she's there to support us because there are things that, you know, we may find are too big to hold on to at the time, and also about prioritizing our work for the next several months.
I think, yeah, and as Michelle said, this was Grace's first day, so we're still figuring out exactly where she's fitting in, and because she's half-time, right, what fits well in her space and what probably doesn't fit as well. But the initial thought that Michelle and I have talked about is everything that's on the plate is staying on the plate. The question is about things we were hoping to add to the plate, maybe in second semester or as we go. We're going to have to think really carefully about whether we have the capacity to do those things well.
Yeah. Are there certain things you're looking for updates on? Because I know the other thing we were doing.
They're really that's not what
it's
I'm
great.
driving at all, honestly. And then this is probably a question really for Jennifer more than anybody else, since she's the chair of this. If there's any way that we should be functioning any differently with a liaison who's interim and halftime, if we should be looking to support one activity more than another, or to change our expectations. I just I'm curious how OTL is gonna
Yeah,
operate
so,
for the next 6 months is all.
well, so we met with Jennifer last week to talk through sort of where we were this week and started to sort of consider, I think the really good question that you guys asked at the last meeting was like, what belongs here at the smaller subcommittee and what belongs at the larger committee? And my guess is because of what's coming up, like the reviews being given, the information for the reviews, et cetera, that we've been having, my guess is we're just gonna most likely be bringing more stuff to the full committee rather than doing it twice like we had been, which may help this situation you're asking about, like, how do we function together? And we can set up calls with Graceway and you and us and figure
Okay.
that out.
Then I guess for my part, and I'm only speaking for myself here, obviously. Like I guess I would just call again for if this year or some subsequent semester, if OTL could put together like a simple Excel spreadsheet tracker of its mini projects and reviews, just like the big stuff that just says like last checked in on X date or this is the priority. I just would consult that rather than trying to track somebody down for an update, because I feel very conscious right now that you have your resources are very spread thin. I don't want to waste them.
We thoroughly appreciate it. And I think Gabe and I can knock that out pretty quickly so that you can just see the progress. And
That was certainly not a short-term ask, what I just said.
all right, well.
Okay.
It's that big an ask and is probably useful for us anyway.
Okay. However you want to treat that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Helen, I think.
Helen?
To follow up on what Stephen was saying, it may even be what we would want to discuss at our next curriculum subcommittee, so that we just get a lay of the land,
On reviews
yeah,
specific.
of what you plan for the rest of the year and what's further out.
Sure.
Just
Sort
so
of a
that it
mid-year,
tempers our expectations too.
like a mid-year overview sort of idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What we've done, because there may be some things we don't even know that have been accomplished this year already. I imagine there are. And things that you hope to accomplish yet towards.
Because it's for someone like like literacy is always one of my interests. So I'm always looking to see what DESI's like grants are coming out. And I saw there was a new one that came out recently for transitioning from one curriculum to another. I just want to know what your timeline is and whether any of the grant opportunities that come out, whether I should bring them to anybody's attention or whether they don't sync up. Like that's where I'm.
They know it already.
Well, I think,
Or
right?
whether they know already.
Yeah, we do
I'm
have
sure
the
you do,
grant.
right.
Yeah, unfortunately, the one I think you're talking about, the competitive one, we actually don't qualify for currently
We're
in the
too rich.
district. So we would be unable to apply right now, but I certainly appreciate, and there's nothing wrong with checking in with us to see if we have or haven't seen a grant opportunity. I mean, because we get tons of things every day. So if there's something that looks super interesting and
Okay.
would support our work, absolutely.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other new business or any other thoughts? Yeah, Gabe?
I'm going to hold it for the next one. I think it's too not quite confirmed. There's something very exciting, but we'll share it next time.
Oh,
Can't do that.
that'll keep us coming back. That's
He
good.
can.
I will say our second administration of the Dibbles ends next week of M class, and knock on wood, everybody is flying through them very well.
Great. That's fantastic. And that, that would be something, hopefully you would give us some information on, maybe not next time, but the time after or next time, depending on.
We'll have it because that data is instantaneous, so we can talk about whether that belongs on the next
Right.
agenda or not.
Yeah, but the interpretation, you may have the data, but the interpretation of it takes, I imagine, some time to know what it's saying.
I mean, one of the benefits of this exam is it's actually much quicker to get that data back.
It's also pretty straightforward. It's not like a lot of interpretation. I mean, you could do percentages of kids or something, but it's pretty straightforward. It's like.
Yeah, one of the things I would be interested in is knowing how many, I think this is also to at least find out kids who have dyslexia or not, and what are the numbers that you're seeing in that regard would be important, I think.
It might be helpful to just take a case study, take one or two students, redact the names, and then, kind of just look at what would that look like? What are those scores looking like, and what does that tell us? It might be interesting.
Yes,
With
because
the
there's a
bigger
ton of
data.
information, and we've actually also been able to do a little bit of laying against like classroom instruction, and where certain things are happening, and like what are we saying from the students, and how do we use that to move forward. So
That's great.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm actually really excited to we have our second data meeting on the 24th. So
Okay, I will move to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Stephen, your vote?
Yes.
Helen, your vote? And I vote yes as well.
We managed to put 15 minutes longer onto this meeting.
There you go. Well, thank you, Michelle and Gabe. Thanks for holding down the fort.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
bye.
You all. Take care.
Good night.